Hey guys, it's the Grenadier Gamer here. We're back in Enlisted. A lot of updates, a lot of news this week, so let's go ahead and dive right in. So the first thing we're going to cover is they've released some future updates that are going to be implemented in the December update. So they're going to modify the way that they were going to buff premium squads. So originally they were going to get rid of all of the nerfs to any of the perk tree points, so that they would all have none less than 16 points per perk tree. That was their original plan. Now they're going back on that. They're going to remove the negative perk modifiers, but they're also going to rebalance the positive perk point modifiers so that they're not overpowered, so they're a little lowered to even the playing field. I guess I would argue that that's kind of a needless change. There's no perks in any of the perk trees where if a soldier had every single perk, it would just make them overpowered, other than maybe like the recoil and reload in the yellow perk tree. But I mean, premium squads are already not overpowered, so giving people incentives to use premium squads would actually be beneficial. But it is what it is. They're still getting a slight buff, so those negatives will be taken away. I guess that's good. And then they're also telling us that they're going to keep the limitation on XP boosters, so you could still only have up to 500% XP boost active at a time. However, now you can add as many XP boosts as you want and stack them as long as they're capped at 500%. Originally, you could only, once they implemented the nerf, which prevented you from abusing the system supposedly, you could only have 3 active boosters at a time. Now, it'll go, you can use as many as you want, but it's only going to give you up to 500% increased XP, which, okay, that's fine. Then we had a little mini event drop this week. So this event is about a French fighter regiment that was formed in 1942 that went to actually go fight on the Eastern Front for the Soviet Union. So apparently the regiment flew Yak 1s, Yak 3s, and Yak 9s, and they were fairly successful. So this is actually probably the easiest mini event objectives I've ever seen in any event. So basically you just have to get destroy vehicles, kills in a vehicle, and then 4 battles every 2 days, and then you're getting a decent amount of silver, some appearance change orders, you're going to get a French fighter pilot portrait, and then you're going to get a new squad for the Soviet Union. You're going to get basically a flavor squad with a French pilot, and then looks to be a reskinned Yak 3 for the Soviets, which isn't amazing, but like that's pretty cool. Like if you want to role play, you can you could do that. Not that the Yak 3 is anything special, but it could do some work. It's a dedicated fighter, and it's not horrible, but I mean, if you believe Enlisted, it says, according to many characteristics, this aircraft is the best piston fighter of the Second World War, which is not the case, but it'll do some work. Then, so that event is going on right now. That's a pretty decent mini event. You get some flavor squad, and then you get a decent amount of silver, and the objectives are like stupidly easy to complete. So definitely like that. More mini events like that, please. And then this is one of the important ones. So I have to admit, I was kind of hoping that everybody else was wrong. I wanted this to be Finland and Karelia and the Winter War and the Continuation War. But the majority of you were right. We are getting the so-called Far Eastern update. So it's going to be late war 1945, Japanese versus Soviets. So along with this new Far East update, we're getting new additions to the research tree for each nation. So the first one is the USSR. We're getting we're getting a Type 88 rifle for BR1, which is essentially a Chinese bolt action based on the German Gewehr 1888. The interesting thing is it says it holds 5 rounds and it's loaded using 5-round end block clips, kind of like an M1 Garand, so that should be interesting. What my question is sure, maybe some of these were used by Soviet rear line troops, but why is this being added to the Soviet tech tree? I feel like this would be a more logical addition to the Japanese tech tree, or like, I don't know, maybe you could even give us Chinese tech tree. That would be pretty cool, but you know, whatever. They could have done like early Manchuria and late war Manchuria, but I mean, I don't think this rifle will really get used. The Mosins are just fine, and like this doesn't really add anything special, but okay, if you want to LARP or roleplay, so be it. That's really the only addition to the Soviet tech tree, so that's kind of disappointing. I was thinking maybe we'd get an SU-152 or an ISU, but that appears to be it. Germany, super excited for this. So unfortunately, we're getting the Key 7 BR3 MG, which Japan already has in their tech tree. Now it's going to be available to Germany. Like, this is fine, but number one, it's copy paste. So like, come on, dude, do better. Two, the Key 7 really wasn't used by Germany at all. I mean, it was used by Italians only in their colonial possessions, and even then it was also rare there, so like, why don't you give us something different? But like, it's okay. It'll be interesting to see if people really use the Key 7, because I can see this going one of two ways. So either the Key 7 is going to be the new meta for BR3 German MGs, because it's basically like a little assault rifle. It's not really like a machine gun. It's very portable, and then it's got the 25-round clip. The sights are easy to use. So it's either going to replace the other German MGs, or with the new buff to MG recoil when prone and using bipods, nobody's going to use this at all, and they're just going to have the MG34 and whatnot. And the Key 7 is just never going to get played. So that should be interesting to see how that goes. But, I mean, I just don't think this... There could have been better options to add. But I guess this is fine. The Italians used it in their colonial possessions, but, I mean, we could go down that whole rabbit hole again, where the Italians could have their own tech tree with all this stuff, and you could add it to just the Italians. But whatever. Super exciting. My favorite German piece of armor, the Ferdinand, is coming to Enlisted at BR4. It has the long 88. It has insane amounts of frontal armor. It's going to be pretty slow, but as long as you keep this pointing forward towards the enemy, you should be able to dominate with the Ferdinand. My favorite German armor piece of all time, and allegedly it had the highest KD ratio of any German piece of armor, like 10-1 on the Eastern Front. So super exciting to see this, especially in the tech tree. I'm wondering if they might do the same thing they did with the KV2, where the tech tree version is the Ferdinand, so it has no MG, and then they might release the Elephant as the premium version with the Hull MG. We'll see how that goes. But super excited for the Ferdinand, can't wait. Moving on to the U.S., the U.S. is getting a new BR4 machine gun, the Browning 1919A4, the most common variant of the Browning. It's getting a 100-round belt, the new recoil buffs when being prone and using a bipod. They're definitely going to help this. I think this is going to be a very interesting and fun flavored MG to use for the US. Really glad that this is being implemented. And then for BR5, we're also getting a B-25 Mitchell bomber featuring 6 frontal MGs and 7 defensive MGs. So a total of 13 50 cals. That's going to be a lot of firepower. It's also going to get 6 500-pound bombs. So this is going to be really fun to play. That's definitely going to be a good bomber for BR5. Japan is getting another variant of the Type 2 at BR5 in 6.5 millimeter. So essentially, this is going to be Japan's assault rifle. It's bayonet. Not sure what the magazine capacity will be like, but I mean, Japan needs more weapons to be competitive at high BRs, especially with the Soviets. The Soviets have insane. They have the Fedorov, they have the Papashaws, all kinds of insane stuff. BR4, they're getting a new tank, the Cheeto Late, which is an improved version of the Cheeto, more ammunition and angled armor, giving it slightly better protection. I don't know how effective that's gonna be, especially once again, you know how Soviet bias goes. Soviet tanks, Soviet SMGs, assault rifles. It might be rough. We'll see how it goes. Then, expanding upon the Far East, they start telling us about the new map that they're going to release. So, from my understanding of this, they have several pictures released of what the new map's going to look like. There's going to be lots of variation in terrain, elevated hills, valleys for attackers to push, forests, mountains, rocks, bunkers, and stuff like that. They're saying it's only for 1945. I don't know if that's actually going to be locked, so that Japan's only going to get these against the Soviets if you're playing late war Japan, or if you can play on this map at lower BRs as well. That remains to be seen. I think it would have been kind of cool if they had implemented early Manchuria as well, and also added some Chinese units. That would have been pretty fun. Little disappointed looking at all these photos. It looks like they reused a lot of assets from previous maps. And I think that's part of the reason why I thought that this was going to be Finland and the Winter War, because a lot of these assets are reused from European maps. So that kind of sucks. But I mean, we're getting a new front, so that's exciting. It looks like this is just one map, which is a little disappointing because this is supposed to be a major update. You're adding a new front line. Give us at least a couple different maps. But, you know, Gaijin will Gaijin, so it is what it is. Looks interesting. And then, of course, with the new update, they're also releasing 2 new premium squads. So, for the Soviets, we're getting the silenced PPSH-41, which everybody was crying about, that was going to be released in the tech tree. No, that's too overpowered. We can't have that. So now they're going to monetize it as a squad of Chinese volunteers who joined the Red Army and are given silenced PPSH-41s, which seems highly unlikely that that would ever have happened, especially if you're testing new weapons research. You're not just going to give it to some random Chinese volunteers. But new premium 5 guerrilla squad with silenced Papashaws. And then the Japanese are getting some captured Browning M1918A2s that they can field against the Soviets. This is a machine gunner squad. So it'll be filled with 6 soldiers, and it comes with 4 machine gunners and an engineer. And then you're going to have 1 free slot. You can pick between your choice of an AT gunner or an additional engineer. So, exciting stuff. If you do order the pre-order pack with the premium squads, you're going to get a profile portrait of a volunteer from China, and you'll get the Star of the East nickname decorator. Now, my personal opinion, I would not order these squads. I just don't see them being worth it. Silenced Popshaw seems kind of cool, but I don't really care about Japanese running around with captured bars. You do you. I am excited for the update, though. Really excited for the Ferdinand. Can't wait to use that in battle. But, yeah. So that looks like it's it for now. Subscribe to me for more Enlisted content. If you like what you see, drop a like, please. It means a lot. Stay sharp out there, guys, and I'll see you on the battlefield. Catch you next time.